Hey, gang. Wednesday. Time for translating Trump. Might be good if I turned the camera on. I don't know what the hell it is, but all of a sudden, I can't get any light on my face. There's like a shadow. I've been doing this for how long now? Bunch of things to talk about today. It's Wednesday. We're translating Trump. Philip Blackett is backstage. We'll be bringing him out in a second. I wanted to get this out sooner, though. In fact, I wanted to get out earlier this week. We are in the process of cutting out YouTube. And I'll be saying that throughout the show today to reach whatever various people join us there. We had a video removed. What is it, like 3 weeks ago now? Boom. We had a video removed about 3 weeks ago or so. And hey, Anger Jesus, thanks for joining. See you on Instagram. We had a video removed, and that wasn't the whole. I don't like how they do it. They don't tell you what they don't like about the video, so that maybe even you can just edit that part out. All they did was accuse us of being deceptive, which when you provide show notes, now Ken is telling us we're not on Up the Middle on Facebook. Oh, this is killing me. Go to yergs.com. I can't connect to. I'm on my professional page on Facebook, but I can't connect to my. I'm on my profile, which I'm also going to be getting away from. We're on D-List. We're on Instagram. Bomber, thanks for joining us. Up the Middle isn't working either, or rather, Rumble isn't working either. It's time to try out the new page on Anyway, the streaming, as you can obviously see, is a pain in the ass. So what I'm doing is cutting out the ones that either aren't working or have been problematic. The other thing about YouTube, not only do they not manage their so-called community standards well, longer videos like our show don't do well. Most people don't have the attention span to sit here for 2 hours. God love Ken, who tries to get on somehow. Yeah, I don't understand what's going on with the Up the Middle radio show page. That's translating Trump. That one wasn't working either. Trying the. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, gang. Not happy. But Up the Middle, our page is Up the Middle translating Trump and Up the Middle radio show. They're the same thing. It's just that one focuses more on our time with Philip, neither of them are streaming today. Then Rumble isn't working. That just keeps saying that it's sending data, just like the other Facebook pages. So I don't know if I need to delete them and add them again or what the deal is. But I can see that Yerg's Radio, Yergs.radio, we're on the air there. I can see that Yergs.com, I'm going to do it here on my desktop just to give you a little play-by-play. Go to Yergs.com, and on the tabs across the top, just hit Live Broadcast Hub. Connects you right to any video that's playing. All right. And so if there's nothing playing, it's going to remain blank, and it's going to say we're off the air. Now we're not off the air. You can still go to Yerg's Radio. And you remember to use that new, shorter domain, Yergs.radio. That's it. You're there. So there's that. And my whole point of this little intro that I want to get to Philip because he's always limited time, and we're happy to have him for what time we can get him. David Pakman is being censored, and others are being censored by this administration. That's one of the things we'll talk about. I've got a bit of a surprise on that issue. And now there's the issue with YouTube. So I'm preparing for the worst. Yergs.com is not hosted in the United States, so he can't touch that. Yerg's Radio is not hosted in the United States, so he can't touch that. And I say he, you know who I'm talking about. So good luck with that, dude. And that's why we're developing the network of friends and listeners right now. Okay, enough of that. It's Wednesday. We have Philip waiting backstage very patiently. And there's the answer to your question, Ken. Here I am. I always have to do this every time. There's no like preset that I can just leave it at this focus distance when I turn it on. Philip is backstage waiting very patiently, and I don't know. He just sent me a message in our private chat. Can't touch this. It's hammer time. Is that like telling me? Are you saying unhitch the trailer, dude? Come on, or what?
I mean, it's a '90s reference for all our old school people here.
I remember. Yeah, I know hammer
So
time.
I thought that some people would appreciate that particular use for say, can't touch this because it's hammer time.
Oh, with you mean with where I'm putting my servers and such?
Because you kept saying, can't touch this, can't touch this, and all of a sudden I got MC Hammer in my head. I said, let me go ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
Share this with him while I patiently await.
How's your week been?
It's good. It's good. I've been doing some good reading here. I was just keeping myself busy. I was reading this book here.
What do you got there? What's that one?
The Ancestral Diet Revolution.
Okay, so remember your camera is mirrored.
I know. I don't know how to do this. Let's see. Nope, I can't flip it that way. Let's see. Mirror.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So I'm into this whole life after 40 stage. So I'm reading a bunch of books. So this book right here, I've been able to read most of it. I'm going to finish it this week. It's called The Ancestral Diet Revolution: How Vegetable Oils and Processed Foods Destroy Our Health and How to Recover. So I'm on my RFK feel right now. And
I would be so much happier if you were the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You
dude,
probably
all I would
knew,
need is just this
but
book, and I could do the job.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you're at least more rational. You might not be a doctor either,
Right. I'm
but
married to one if it helps, but I don't know. I come from a family of doctors, so maybe that
a
helps.
medical doctor, or what kind
Hmm.
of?
Medical
Yeah,
doctor.
okay.
Yep.
What's her? Does she have a special practice, or what?
So she works at a hospital here in the Orlando area, and she does genetics, cardiovascular genetics.
Okay.
So much smarter than me, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, that's often the case. All right. So today is your lucky week.
Yay! No
This is one.
blindsiding.
No, I don't think so much blindsiding. I think what I did want to. One was only recently as last night, and I didn't get a chance to see it. So you'll have better chances of doing better today on
Mm-hmm.
this one than I will. And that is, of course, Joe Biden's speech, where
Oh, he
he,
came out of hibernation. Wonderful.
yeah,
Glad to see
yeah,
he's still alive.
yeah. Speaking of hibernation, have you seen the size of your guy recently?
Which guy are you talking about? I'm
Trump.
still I'm still on the whole funny tip of apparently our VP fumbling the college football national championship trophy.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? And even Biden is included in this during his time. Vice presidents are not known for being the best replacement for the
Hmm.
president. They're just not. Uh,
Unless people would make an argument, maybe Biden was since he was VP to Obama. I wouldn't
but
subscribe to that
what I'm
belief, but
saying is during his time as VP,
mhm.
what VP goes up to the president on stage and says this is a big effing deal when you know goddamn well there's a hot mic right there? You know, that's and we've had a slew of what we called Bidenisms,
Mhm.
crazy Uncle Joe.
Those Obama Biden memes always gave me a laugh for sure. You gotta
Oh
shut
yeah.
up. Can't say that.
Um, and now we laugh about it,
Mm-hmm.
as does Obama,
Mm-hmm.
because I think during Biden's time as president, he was the time when, or maybe he was still president then. I think it's when they gave Biden the Presidential Medal of Freedom in the Oval Office. They surprised him with it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think this was when it was before that. And Obama said, as Joe once said, this is a big, and he pauses, deal. And everybody knew exactly what he was referring to. And he gives him, I think that's when he gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But Obama made some crack like that to Joe about that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other thing he did come back during Biden's term in office and referred to now President Biden by what he's used to calling him when he said, ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Biden, I mean, President Biden. uh, so, I mean,
Happens to the best of us. I get it.
uh, he's clearly an easy target for
Mm-hmm.
vice presidential jokes. Now, with the changes to what is JD Vance, to include the fact that there was a time when JD Vance was not JD Vance. He's on what, his third driver's license now?
Oh, I didn't know that was even a thing.
Oh, yeah, that's not his name. We talked about this weeks ago.
I mean, I might have missed that while watching Hillbilly Elegy, as far as what his government name was when he was born. But JD Vance does sound like something that's like, I don't know if that was like the first choice here. This might have been hey, this looks like a potential vice president, senator. So we need to come up with something that's more senator like. So I can see where you're coming from.
No, he did it for ultimately, and I will add this part, for what are ultimately good enough reasons.
Okay.
Um, Essentially, his birth name was his father's.
Okay.
His parents split.
Mm-hmm.
He loses, and I have to go back and check, but to my recollection, he loses all contact with his biological father.
Okay.
He's adopted by his stepfather.
Okay.
As a minor, he takes that name. Mom and stepdad split,
Mm-hmm.
and it's long term, permanent divorce, split, not happening, goodbye. He decides he doesn't want to keep that name anymore,
Okay.
which I'll be honest makes sense. So this is where he gets Vance from. It is apparently his grandmother's name,
Hmm.
which suggests to me that perhaps it's his mother's maiden name.
That's what I was thinking. Yep.
Maybe. I don't know that. I mean, maybe it's his real dad's grandmother's maiden name because it's not his original name. And I don't remember what they were. None of them have been repeated. It's three different names. So honestly, I'm busting balls on it when in all actuality, I certainly see the the logistics, the thought process behind it. But that's probably something.
Oh, yep. He was born James Donald Bowman.
Bowman, that's it.
His father's name was Donald Ray Bowman.
Yep.
After Bowman was adopted by his mother's third husband, Bob Hamel, his mother changed his name to James David Hamel.
Yeah, because they dropped the Donald,
And so,
which I think is a good idea. Is dropping Donald
well, you might have your reasons
on,
here.
on all on all levels.
As a loyal fan of Donald Duck growing up, hey, keep the Donald in there.
I was a Mighty Mouse fan.
Oh, Mighty Mouse, yeah, yeah, I get it.
I don't think that's Disney, but
No, it's not, but it's okay.
Hanna
Uh,
Barbera.
no, yeah, Hanna Barbera, probably Flintstones, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it said change his name to James David Hamill to remove his father's first name and surname and to preserve an uncle's first name, David. Vance therefore kept his nickname JD. He and his sister Lindsay were raised primarily by their maternal grandparents James and Bonnie Vance, whom they call Papa and Mama. So you're right.
So he leaves mom also.
He has written that his childhood was marked by poverty and abuse, and that his mother struggled with drug addiction. Yep, I remember that from watching the movie. He and his
What
sister
movie?
Lindsay, Hillbilly Elegy. You haven't seen it?
Oh no, I know. No, I haven't, but I do know what you're talking about now.
It was good. I liked it.
Okay.
So raised by maternal grandparents James and Bonnie Vance. Hence James, then changed Donald to David, and then Vance taking that up as his name.
Okay, so that is Ken. Superfan Ken is saying the same thing. It was original dad's name, then stepfather's name. Now,
Oh, he took on Vance upon his marriage in 2014. The name
yeah, that
change
was that's
actually,
right. It was actually more recent.
yeah,
Yep.
the name change actually occurred in April 2013 as he was about to graduate from Yale Law School. Gotcha. Okay, so he was JD Hamill up until like 10 years ago or so.
Yeah. So
Oh,
through his military career,
mm-hmm.
um,
Interesting.
so grandmother, is it still his mom's mom? And that's
I,
her married name?
I believe so. It says Bonnie Vance, born Blanton. So Vance actually may be the grandfather's name.
Yeah. Yeah. Her married name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Grandmom's married name.
The more you know.
Well, I would presume the grandfather is blood also.
I would think so.
So why not say grandparents instead of grandmother?
Yeah, the movie focused more on JD and his grandmother and his mother, but
Okay.
we didn't see much of the grandfather there.
I mean, because on the right side there, we're always talking about traditional families and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring both parents into the picture. So, all right, well, there's JD and the rest of the clown circus that is the office of the vice president. uh, so I want to. I'm not. I've got one of the clips of it that's all 28 minutes and 34 seconds. You know, I don't see us doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. I certainly remember watching Channel 29 as a kid. Um, I found a 2 minute and 28 set. I think we can get through that in the remaining half hour
Okay.
and not waste too much time on anything else. What else did I think of? Oh, I do want to ask you one question. I think we can get through this a little quicker before we go to Biden. Oh, no, where'd it go? Damn it. I hate when your screen just refreshes. All right, well, I know who posted it, so let me bring him up. And hopefully it's going to be a recent one. I did this the other day too. I said, "Oh, well, I remember who posted it. I'll just go to that profile and pull it up." And yeah, no. Oh, this is funny. I got to show you this. You'll. It's not what I was intending on going to. You'll get a chuckle at it, even though we're busting dudes' balls. There's everybody else playing chess, and he's over there playing checkers with himself in a McDonald's Happy Meal.
So mean.
That's good. Um, come on, where's it at now? And the only reason I want to go to this post is because I want to make sure that I get. This is my class.
Okay.
Those no, that girl is not. That girl and that girl were in my graduating class. I don't know what he's talking. Oh, history of Boyertown High School. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we go. NPR's Stephen Inskeep said,
Mm-hmm.
if I understand this correctly, the president has launched a trade war against the world. And whether or not you say he actually launched a trade war, I mean, I think that's where we're at. And um, I think that's where we're at. So, launched a trade war against the world. Believes he can force the European Union and China to meet his terms. Is determined to annex Canada and Greenland. But is powerless before the sovereign might of El Salvador to get someone back that he wrongly and illegally deported. Does that all sound about right?
You're picking battles to see which ones you can win, and clearly we don't have a perfect
And you
record here
can't
doing
win against El Salvador? Did they become nuclear last week and we missed that headline?
I don't
And
think so.
This is my point. He could have been here on the plane. I've been saying this all week. This guy could have been here on the plane that this president came up with himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I agree. That's a bit of a security issue. If this guy is the dangerous gang member that nothing has proven him to be, but we can't put him on a flight. We're using this country to outsource our prison system, and they can't keep track of where their prisoners are. Might we pick a better company or better country? What do you think? Is he no longer the most powerful man in the world?
Well, of course he is, because his actions and his statements get people to respond one way or the other, either on shows like this or in
Like
action.
when he postponed the tariffs 3 times for Mexico and Canada. Those kind of responses, was that all part of the plan? Is that the BS line we're using this week?
It's not the BS line as I look at my Art of the Deal book here, because I do know enough about Trump, though I never met him personally, but I do know this is part of how he rolls. He puts stuff out there to get a reaction, to get a feel for, hey, let's see what Ross is thinking here. Can we get along with this? Can we get through this? And he might hit it with a big stick, but then after talking, be like, all right, we won't do as bad. So you set the anchor high, and he's okay. I'll be a nice guy. I'll pull it off. I'll postpone, and then you get the markets going up. It's just that's kind of been his thing before he got into office. So a lot of this does seem a little familiar to me, at least.
So
but I hear where you're coming from, though.
You mentioned his book, Art of the Deal.
Mm-hmm.
You mean the one that somebody wrote for him, right?
It very well may be the case. Like, listen, it's a good read.
No, that's why it's a good read.
That might be the reason why, because it might have been because he personally wrote every word. It's possible.
Yeah.
Because before there was AI, there were ghostwriters back then, for sure.
I read Think Big and Kick Ass.
I read that too. I got it somewhere. Where is it? Okay, I see it.
I threw mine out. But
why?
Because it was all damaged from the flood.
Okay, so that's why. It wasn't because it was damaged goods as far as like the book was bad. It literally was damaged by the flood.
I wasn't exactly trying to have it reconditioned. And it wasn't autographed anyway. So I made sure
it would have been worth something. Yeah.
I made sure that any autographed books were a higher spot on the shelf. And since that was one of them.
Did you get any books autographed by the people you protected? Just curious.
I used to have all of them until they were stolen from a storage facility.
Oh, gosh.
In DC. I had 2 copies of My Life from Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
One was just autographed, Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
That was sitting on the coffee table. And when people would open that up, I had the cover, the soft cover, book cover wrap marked to the page where he signed it, so that when people opened the book, it would come to that page and they would see Bill Clinton's signature.
Mm-hmm.
And that would amaze people and go, oh, wow, you got a signed copy from Bill Clinton. I said, let me show you something else. And I go to the bookshelf and I pull another copy of My Life. where it's personally signed to Yerg's. And that's I had.
Oh, you say Yerg's, not Ross?
No, so when you get that done, especially on the detail, they put a sticky in that spot where he's going to sign it, and the staff writes on the sticky how you want to be addressed.
Okay.
So if it's to Ross, you write there Ross, and then he'll write Ross. Thanks for all your time on my Secret Service detail, Bill Clinton. Well, I put Yerg's and in all capitals so they could, well, not in all capitals, but there was a capital Y, the size of a capital Y, and then ERGZ was the size of lowercase, but in capital letters, so they knew what I was writing. And he and Hillary both. I have her one recent one. I forget which one it is. And then I lost those, My Life, and I think It Takes a Village. In that theft, and then I get the recent ones. Working, I think was his.
Mm-hmm.
Or Back to Work, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget. Hers is she has a very nice headshot, but I don't remember the title. And yeah, they're autographed. So, all right, now let's. We've talked about the most powerful man in the world and the most useless. Now let's get to the funniest man in the world, Crazy Uncle Joe. Here, yeah, there he is. Okay, so this is from NBC and from their website, but this was broadcast on multiple channels last night from Chicago at a bilateral. What was the? I forget what the purpose of the rest of the meeting last night was, but anyway, here he is, out of hibernation, as we said. Former President Joe Biden.
Fewer than 100 days, this new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon. They've taken a hatchet to the Social Security Administration, pushing an additional 7,000 employees, 7,000 out the door in that time, including the most seasoned career officials. Now they're getting ready to push thousands more out the door. You got to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why are these guys taking aim at Social Security now?
All right, so for those on radio, this 2-minute and 28 seconds, we're 39 seconds in, and there was a cut. There was an edit. So for those who aren't seeing the video changing, to know that there was an edit, know that this is a highlight reel. It's not a continuous 2-minute and 28 segment video. And also, we've got a new follower on YouTube on Talk TV 24. Just to remind you, within the next week or so, you'll want to go to yergz.com, YERGZ.com, to watch the video. We are discontinuing broadcasting to YouTube for various reasons, especially due to censorship. All right, back to Crazy Uncle Joe.
Well, they're following that old line from tech startups. The quote is, move fast, break things. They're certainly breaking things. They're shooting first and aiming later. As a result, is a lot of needless pain and sleepless nights. My friend Governor O'Malley knows what they're really up to. He says, and I love his quote, they want to wreck it so they can rob it. They want to wreck it so they can rob it. And why do they want to rob it? In order to deliver huge tax cuts to billionaires and big corporations and keep it going. They want to make permanent the 2017 tax cuts, which overwhelmingly benefited the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations. That's going to cost $5 trillion. Where are they going to get $5 trillion to pay for it? Well, then continue to run the deficit. What will they always do? By running up the national debt, number one, and then by taking the money from someplace else. What are the two big pots of money out there in raw numbers? Social Security and Medicaid. Well, from other programs people rely on and have paid into. Republicans, these guys are willing to hurt the middle class and the working class in order to deliver significant greater wealth to the already very wealthy. Who in the hell do they think they are? I really think just basic decency. Who do they think they are?
Nope, there we go.
And Biden goes black.
Did we...
Kelly O'Donnell joins us, and Kelly, Biden fired.
I'm not going to listen to talking heads. Was that the whole? Was it? My dog is sick today, so was that? Did we get to the end of the 2 minute and 28?
I guess so. It went black afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, what do you think about these cuts? And by the way, I think that was a good. That was sane and competent Joe Biden that we saw in Chicago last night.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to see the rest of the 26 minutes or so, whatever's left. But what do you think about these cuts? What do you think about Doge? Are we glad to see let's start here.
Okay.
How much waste, fraud, and abuse did Doge find?
Did they report?
Whatever that number is, yeah, and that's kind of my issue. They've been billions of dollars here, billions of dollars there. Just because they say that doesn't mean that's what they found.
Okay.
And that's what I don't think this administration gets, is that this country has this thing called due process.
Mm-hmm.
And they're finding people guilty in criminal court and the court of public opinion before giving them their real day in court.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I think I'm on the same page with you, Ross, where it's just like, listen, 4 months into this, where are the results at this point? Where's the transparency? Because at this point, people get back to their regular day-to-day lives. But at the end of the day, they want to see, okay, from what you promised or what you said you were going to do, what does it look like? Can we get a progress report? Can we get a status update? Something to say, hey, if you did these cuts, for example, what is this for? How long do you think it's going to take us to find some sort of savings? Is it necessary? So I can't speak definitively on this, but I do have that results-oriented hat to say, listen, I hear you, and I remember the things that we went on when you were asking for our vote. Now, 4 months into it, you got some time before midterms, but I'm hoping that these moves are measured and that they're going to come with some sort of return on this investment. Otherwise, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, because but what about even going back to the very beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Musk comes in.
Musk comes Vivek.
The very beginning,
right? Let's go all the way to the beginning, because that's my issue with it. It's just like I was under the impression that these two were the right people for the job, that they were committed to get all this stuff underway, and it just seems like the wheels are coming off here to some degree.
Yeah, let me look that up quick. what is the current? Yeah, I did. I get as far as why did R.A. I didn't even have to finish typing Ramaswamy. Let me see if I can show you this. Well, I actually got to the M, but it came up.
Why did Ramaswamy leave Doge?
And yeah, there it is. And so let's see what the official thing out now is. I know what I saw then, that he left because of a pissing match.
Yeah, it sounds like it was Vivek versus Elon here. And clearly Elon's going to win that one.
Politico is going to say it. Vivek Ramaswamy breaks
Guardian said on the start. Tech entrepreneur who may run for governor of Ohio reportedly clashed with billionaire and SpaceX CEO. That was back in January.
Yep. And so it wasn't what I was expecting to see was with the one thing that there's the governor for Ohio thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why he left.
Mm-mm.
He left because of the pissing match between him and Musk, which, by the way, also seems to be a running theme throughout this administration.
Mm-hmm.
Ramaswamy, Peter Navarro,
okay,
Steve Bannon, at some Marco Rubio. At sometimes there were whispers of Trump himself.
What's the common element?
Yeah. Who is the common element?
Is that basically Elon doesn't play well in the sandbox with others?
And, I've heard that before, not just about him, but about the billionaire type.
Okay.
But there he's in a sandbox with supposedly another billionaire, which I still doubt.
Are they playing checkers together or chess?
Dodgeball.
Who's getting reamed this one?
Yeah. So, well, there we go. This is still consistent. It wasn't Trump washed.
Oh, it says for the Fortune one, Vivek breaks silence on Musk and Doge exit. I'm curious if there's a quote there, maybe from him.
I saw that too. Exodus Fox News teases entrepreneur for lasting only 3 Scaramucci's. Yeah. Fair assessment. Look at Fox getting one in a row.
Oh, I see. I was wondering what that meant. Okay, term named after Anthony Scaramucci, whose days in office in 2017 barely hit double digits.
Right. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. I knew that right away.
Jeez. And so he says...
There he's teasing next steps in the video.
The quote above... Here's a quote, though, right above it. We had different and complementary approaches. Whereas Musk examined the issue through a technological mindset, I focus more on a constitutional law, legislative-based approach.
Yeah.
Which would sound like something that would make sense to pair, right? Because constitutional law, legislative-based approach, meaning you can't just up and willy-nilly just dictate these things are going to happen because there's something called checks and balances in place. So it would have been something like the issues with the courts, Congress, all these things we talked about previously. Maybe Vivek could have been helpful here because he's looking at it from a constitutional perspective.
Yeah. So, but even before that, at least Ramaswamy, and I'm no fan of Vivek Ramaswamy.
Would you have voted for him over Trump?
Not if there was still if I was a Republican in a primary, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I always just curious.
Probably. Because I think at least, especially if he's talking constitutional, that's his gut reaction to the situation.
Right.
And at least for as much as I believe him to have fascist tendencies as well, and contrary to what Blake Fisher says, I don't label anybody that I disagree with a fascist. There's 3 people and now 4 that I've labeled as such, and that was in order of appearance in this movie: Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk. But at least with him mentioning, and I see this now really for the first time, to be honest, his approach being the constitutional one, that would tell me that at least in 2028, we've got really good chances of having another presidential election. I'm not feeling that right now.
Meaning, because I thought the election would have happened anyway in 2028. What do you mean?
It's supposed to, but when you got a guy in his second term,
oh, I see what you're doing.
Blatantly saying he's going for a third term, when anybody who can read, which to be fair, I doubt that he can.
I doubt it too. I'm thinking an election will happen in 2028 as well.
I'm not.
Oh.
He said to that Christian group, vote for me now and you'll never have to vote again. Who says that as a legitimate candidate for president? That's not what a president says. But then, are we being desensitized? When he says, I can stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and not lose any votes.
I can see that, because basically you say
Who
things
says that?
You say enough outlandish stuff, some people start to think, okay, he's just joking. It's not a big deal. It's not taken seriously. I get it. It could be part of strategy as well, too.
How is that? That's my point. How is that a strategy?
I think it softens the blow.
Strategy to get us to accept that we're not having an election in 2028.
Mm-hmm.
And think that that's as extreme as you want. Look at what he's done in this 100 days. You don't think any of that is a bit of a stretch into extremism? Sorry, I've got a dog that's not feeling well today, and I think it's because of some senior issues.
For him or for you?
You okay? Hey.
Was that him just there?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I would understand that cough that you're hearing is
that's from him.
The onset of heart failure.
Oh, goodness.
So we'll see how he's doing. He woke up in the middle of the night, like panting. I thought, well, we get the window open and there's no real breeze blowing right now. I'll close it, turn the air conditioner off.
Mm-hmm.
I also took him outside because I thought maybe he had to go to the bathroom. And he peed a little bit, but there was a nice breeze, and that seemed to settle him down. Came back in. I gave him a muffin laced with some Benadryl.
Okay.
Moments later, he was knocked out. But I just think I have a bunch of body pillows on the bed so that he can sleep with his head up. I think that helps him sleep better. And not all the time does he actually utilize that. So I think once that Benadryl kicked in, he fell asleep in whatever position he was in. But all right, back from commercial. I just want to know, when are we going to get a real president back? And unfortunately, I mean that literally.
So it depends on how you define a real president, right?
Yeah.
Because I can make an argument. Not too long ago, we were wondering who was really running the White House.
Fair.
Right? And so depending on how you define a real president, give some sort of light as far as how soon or how far away that would be.
Well, all right, then let's not lump you with other MAGA folk and say that you're diverting or deflecting. And let's keep it on Trump. In Trump 1.0, we had what they called the adults, meaning senior people within the administration who were either people he brought on that had the courage to wrangle him and keep him under some level of control, or other career people like John Kelly, General Mattis, General Kelly, then Secretary Kelly, and General Mattis, and others who had been there their lives, lifelong conservatives and Republicans, and also were there to steer him in the right direction. They're all gone. We talked, I think you and I might have talked about it too, but I've been talking throughout the past week about the two people that I found so far who are from Trump 1.0. Unfortunately, Stephen Miller is one of them, the architect behind the Muslim ban, among other stupid things. Yep, the only other one that I found so far is the current director of Central Intelligence. The director of the CIA in 1.0 was the director of National Intelligence, which is a demotion.
I remember.
The DNI is above all of it. And that's why that person was brought in, was because the director of Central Intelligence, the director of the CIA, was not being respected as the director of the intelligence community. So that's it. Those two. That's all I found so far. And I'll admit I haven't gone through both administrations with a fine-tooth comb, but everybody keeps talking about how those adults aren't here anymore. When is somebody going to say, hey, you know what? Okay, the radicalism that we brought in, whether they want to call it that or not, is starting to piss too many people off. People were making jokes about the rally that I was at a couple of weeks ago. That had, I would say, probably about 500 people at it.
What was the rally for?
Against Trump.
Okay.
The hands-off rally.
Okay.
I went and attended it, but also covered it for Mastiff Media. Did you see the footage of the one from New York? That was wall-to-wall people for about 4 blocks of New York, like avenues. And that was nationwide. DC was a crowd. Down here, Tampa was a huge crowd. And here, there were like 6 different sites. And yes, people went in some cases from one to another because there were different times of the day. But isn't that also showing the commitment to go to these different conservative areas? Brooksville is way pro-Trump. The talk radio station in Brooksville has a morning show. Everything else is Fox Radio. Hannity,
Waters,
all those asshats. And I can be conservative when I want to. There's things I'm plenty conservative about. It's just that me, you, we're also realistic. And that's going to be in the next hour, by the way, is Laura Ingraham.
Would you say you're libertarian then?
No.
Because they might be more like, I guess, from what I remember, more like people often oversimplify it as like, oh, that's fiscal, conservative, social, progressive. That's libertarian.
Is that libertarian though? Because I don't know that
that's what people would often say, but I was like, I don't know if that's exactly what I would think of it to be, but there is some conservatism in there.
Libertarians advocate for the expansion of individual autonomy and political self-determination. What the hell is that?
Individual autonomy as far as like, hey, mind your business.
Sure.
Allow me to do what I need to do, what I want to do. Give me that liberty to do so. The political self-determination as far as, I guess, like being able to affirm who you are as a state, not uncontrolled by somebody else.
Okay, well, this isn't enough. This is a bullshit. This is from Wikipedia, and this is a bullshit entry. And I'll tell you why. Libertarians advocate for the expansion of individual autonomy. Get that, but that's the Constitution,
right?
Political self-determination. I don't even know what the hell that is. Emphasizing the principles of equality before the law, the protection of civil rights.
That's Bill of Rights.
The rights of freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and freedom of choice. That's the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing libertarian about that. That's the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they admit it or not, or whether they really support it or not, that should be any political party. So that's
a good point. No, that's a good point, because if that's Bill of Rights, that's part of our American government, regardless of party. That should be a part of any American political party. Then.
So here's another one of the entries. Libertarianism is a political stance generally known as about the idea of individual liberties, responsibility / self-ownership, and free choice. Can't we bring Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez up here and say she's for the exact same thing? But I think we would agree she's pretty far left. Elizabeth Warren would say the same thing. And Joe Biden, as a right-leaning Democrat, would say these same things. I mean, this sounds more democratic. This sounds more right-leaning Democrat than it does anything right. And not that the right shouldn't be supporting this too. I think there's plenty of Republicans that do. Openly, I just don't think they're MAGA.
I see.
Some company excluded.
Definitely something that we can go into next hour.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 12 o'clock. I got some things I'm prepared for to be solo. What's your schedule like?
I got to head out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll table this for next week. Figure out libertarianism.
Yeah.
And how it results or compares to MAGA and woke and the rest of the world. And of course, Trump. And translating Trump. I got to take a break because we're already into the next hour. And unfortunately, I may have lost and did lose some of our K-Shop. I think that's the only one now. I think everybody else we keep. DNR Studios. I've got to be off the air today on time as well. In the next hour, Sportcat is back. His family issues are at least resolved to a level that he can come back to the podium and take over the 2 hours following me. So he is back. Shout out to Anthony from Momentum Fitness and Wellness. We got to do that commercial next. He just joined on Instagram. Here's a good question for you to prepare for next week. I'll give you a heads up this time on something. What are your general thoughts on Stephen Miller? And is he perhaps Is he perhaps my fifth fascist? Yeah.
We can have that conversation.
We'll talk about that next week. All right, Philip Blackett, get his book out now. Where's it at down here? Life After 40. Life After 40, 40book.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Always a pleasure, pal. See you next week.
Absolutely, sir. See you next week.
Right. So, I know you can take that screen off too. Yeah, Life After 40 by Philip Blackett. Go to lifeafter40, 40book.com and order that today. I actually will be. And now, because of the time after this past Sunday, I will be paying for it like everybody else. Happy to do so. And we'll be doing that and others right after this. This is Up the Middle. We're into hour number 2. I got to take a break. We'll be back. Hey, gang, it's Yergs from Up the Middle. Are you conservative? Tired of being told what to think or how to think it? Or that you have to support a certain regime or quote-unquote administration? Switch on over to Right Talk Radio. Radio and conversation and political talk for free speech and for conservatives in their right mind. Right Talk Radio by Mastiff. What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching. Dunk tanks. Sauna. Everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off. You can scream. You can yell. And you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum. All right, in this next hour, we're going to be talking about the American Civil War. Not the one from 1860s, but the one from today. And the fact that I've been saying that we are in a civil war and have been, and that the generals do not wear a military uniform, but wear whatever clothes you want to call it by Elon Musk, a t-shirt and a sport coat, someone who's not in a real war, unlike Vladimir Zelensky, who is. But those are the generals, the Steve Bannons, the Stephen Millers, the Elon Musk, Peter Navarro. And on the other side, Gavin Newsom, Barack Obama, and even people down the line, Ben Shapiro, David Pakman. In the battlefields, on social media, in the courts of public opinion, you and I, the troops on the front line, the weapons, tweets, posts, videos, conversations in a bar. But this is not the civil war that we have every 2 to 4 years. By that I mean every 4 years for a presidential election and every 2 years for a congressional election, including those that happen simultaneously with a president and those that happen in what we call the midterms. But this Civil War is no longer about political discourse. This Civil War is no longer about agreeing to disagree. This Civil War got ugly. At times, we would all engage, myself included, in these battles, using these weapons, that was more so, I want to say, to hurt people. I got to reset a timer here. Give me a second. That was more so to hurt people and more to degrade and perhaps just simply win an argument, even if in your own mind, than it ever was to save a country. You don't agree? Blake Fisher, you don't think we're in a civil war right now because we're not wearing blue and gray or defined by a boundary or list of states that represent one side or the other? Then why do we have podcasts like Outrage Overload? Why is a podcast and radio show like this one that consistently represents both sides and all inhabitants of the political spectrum? On your last show, Blake, when I went down those who joined me throughout the course of the week and placed them mentally in your mind's eye where everybody is on the political spectrum, or at least where we try to be. I know they say I'm the liberal one, but when I said Jane Stahl was probably the most progressive, balancing Philip Blackett's proud card-carrying MAGA relationship to your Republican membership, Blake, balancing Matt Deemer's Democratic candidacy for Congress. Me identifying as both conservative and progressive and or liberal, whatever you want to call it. I know progressives and liberals do say there is a difference. And that I, in my own opinion, believe that I have a level of political balance and that these 5 of us represented that same balance. When I said that, you were shocked by that. You had an aha moment. I have it on video. Why are we not getting the traction that the polarized shows that are equally as young as we are, some even younger? Now, I admit I'm not going to buy followers, as some of these people are doing. Bots, people who sit at home and do nothing but pretend to be listening to your show. I would rather have Superfan Ken and Travis and Rick, who lives down the street from me, and Anthony from Momentum Fitness and Wellness. And that's it. Then have thousands of people that ain't even listening. We are still in a civil war. And it's one that probably no one is going to win if it goes to one side. Again, a lack of balance. History repeats itself because no one listens the first time. Or perhaps history is repeating itself because they think they can build a better mousetrap. So if you can't see that not only are we in a civil war, but that this administration is nothing more than the Fourth Reich, I can't help you. People from this administration have said, with regards to openness of the citizenry, if you've got nothing to hide, then you've got nothing to worry about. That statement is Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister under Adolf Hitler. Pam Bondi said that this Garcia, who's now somewhere in an El Salvadorian concentration camp, let's call it what it is, was never a Maryland inhabitant. Garcia was here legally. Fact. Garcia was denied due process. Fact. Admitted by this regime. These facts are not disputed by either side. Well, the Maryland thing is, but we know that part is a lie. Your United States Attorney General is lying to you, and she knows it. When she gets up there and uses the same emphasis done by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, not 2 weeks ago, only to be disproven that very week, what a lying piece of shit he is. Shouldn't that be a clue? We are in a civil war. We are in the Fourth Reich. It is incumbent upon us, all of us, Democrats, independents, real Republicans, to come together and welcome in to our circles those from the MAGA movement who can finally realize that this is not okay. Is that going to happen? Well, let's go back to David Beckmeyer's outrage overload. Will we get those Democrats, independents, and real Republicans to maintain the courage to say, not only do we agree with each other on certain things, but disagree with Donald Trump? But we have to bring down the temperature. But not only bring down the temperature, but make our side collectively welcoming to the other. And eliminate this bipartisan or partisanship. Eliminate this partisanship. Eliminate this polarization. And eliminate the harsh attitudes that we've had and still have towards one another. The MAGA movement fancies themselves Christians. Yet anytime we non-MAGAs are accused of being hateful, the only ones ever using the word hate are the MAGAs. Not us. Us being progressives, liberals, Democrats, independents, libertarians, and real Republicans. Is that what Jesus would do? To have an attitude like that? Is that what Jesus would do? You don't have to answer that because I think we already know. You don't have to be a Christian. You can be a Jew and still know enough about Jesus to know that's not what he would teach. You don't even have to be a person of faith to know that your constant spread of hate is wrong. You've seen a lot of people getting off the Trump train, getting off the white supremacist train, getting off the black power train, getting off the male chauvinist train. You don't see any of them getting back on. It means there's something there with coming to a side that actually hears you, welcomes you, and will discuss a civil manner. Not only the differences, but the similarities. There's a rant for today. I got to take another break. When I come back, we're going to go back to talking about the Bill of Rights and some of the amendments we have not yet hit. You're watching or listening to Up the Middle on the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back after this. What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum. Hey gang, it's Yergs from Up the Middle. Are you conservative? Tired of being told what to think or how to think it? Or that you have to support a certain regime or quote-unquote administration? Switch on over to Right Talk Radio. Radio and conversation and political talk for free speech and for conservatives in their right mind. Right Talk Radio by Mastiff. Build a Space. Build a Space is helping me build some spaces of my own. As you're looking at the screen in the top right corner, that's a QR code. That'll take you to Build a Space website. You'll notice I did not say buildaspace.com because their address, very much like ours, yergs.radio, mastiff.media, Their name is their address. Go to builda.space to learn how their tech can help you. Websites, ad sales, other tech consultation and development. They're behind the new Yergs.com, which is still a work in progress, to be clear, but already functional, way more than the 1.0 version ended back in December. Builda is also the parent company of the Biz Growth Collective. Scan that QR code on the screen. A little bit more common address for this one. Go to bizgrowthcollective.com. Sign up today. In fact, I'll put this one up. If you're in Florida, my understanding is there are free memberships. It's in beta right now, and it's testing in Florida. Biz Growth Collective is a much better comparison or version to LinkedIn. For businesses, people in business. In fact, to be that member, you actually have to have a business license. Don't worry. They'll help you get one if you need one for your business, or if you have one, they'll help you find it. Also, if you're not in Florida, by scanning that QR code on the screen or going to bizgrowthcollective.com and purchasing the $25 monthly membership, you can still be a member if you are doing business in Florida. Now, you're not doing business in Florida, but you are in business. I got something else for you. Write us at news, N-E-W-Z, at yergs.com and purchase ad spaces from us here at Up the Middle, Yergs Radio, and everywhere else on Mastiff Media. Then you will be doing business in Florida. And I'm telling you, I've got the $50 membership, the full ride, worth every penny. I'm on this every day. I meet all kinds of great people. And you can too. Go to bizgrowthcollective.com, sign up today. Also, check out Builda by going to builda.space or scanning both of the QR codes that are on the screen right now. I'll leave them up for a little bit. I do not get anything for you making any purchase or getting into any contract or anything like that with either Builda or Biz Growth Collective. They are developing my website, whether you sign up with them or not. The only one losing out, or the only one who had more to gain, is you and your business. Do so. I highly recommend. I highly recommend. They've been a godsend and a huge help. Ever since my last web developer went mega or something. I don't know. Yeah, I know, mates, right? All right. For the remaining 25 minutes, I've got to do something really quick. I've got to send the invite link back to Sportcat, who, as I said earlier, is back today. Yeah, here's another thing. Let's look at this. I've been talking with some people, friends and what have you, throughout the week. About how Trump is 6'3". So he says. He's also 225, 224. Have you seen Donald Trump? Okay, well, first of all, here is to the 6'3" part. There he is, standing right alongside of Joe Biden. Now, I don't know if that was as... He did not help facilitate Biden's entrance. So this must be as him becoming 47. This is on the portico between the mansion and the West Wing. I can tell you where that's at. Biden is 6 feet tall. He's my height. I've stood right aside of him. I know. Look at that picture. That's from the White House, people. Tell me how he's 6'3". To answer the question, Kieran M13, and a friend of mine from back in my street hockey days, Laurie Hunchar, MAGA people do. The same people who believe that Garcia was not here legally and that he's a member of MS-13, and he might be. But don't we need to decide that in court, not the Oval Office? But yeah, there's your 6'3" president. Not. Donald Trump, 6'3". Yeah, no. All right, so back to the Bill of Rights. Let's go to Bill of Rights Institute. Try that one on. Looks like you might be an educator. Yeah, kind of, sort of, but we'll sign in or actually create the account later. We talked about the First Amendment the other day. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Remember, I said there were 5 elements: 2 that pair together, 2 more that pair together, each of those pairs that pair together to make the 5th. The 2 that pair together are speech and press, because it's communication. The other 2 that pair together, especially for the time when this was written, is religion and gathering peacefully. Now, why is that both there? Isn't it the same thing? Don't you gather peacefully at church? Yes. But they're recognizing that not every American is religious. Shout out to those of you who think this is a Christian nation. But still afford those people the right to get together and exercise these other 2 rights. Once we've put these 4 paired together, they pair back together, and now we go to the government and state our concerns. That's the First Amendment. The Second Amendment is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. These are all separate segments. A well-regulated militia being necessary to to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to... This is a separate entity. This is a separate thought. All collectively shall not be infringed. Unfortunately, those of us who live or at least visit, as I do, I'm not always there, at least visit the right side of the political spectrum and who call themselves 2A, referring to the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, so many of us do not regularly enough consider the other 9 amendments of the Bill of Rights. I like to think that I do. I'm going with them with you, going over them with you, all 10 of them. I also swore an oath to protect all now 26, 27, whatever we're up to, of them against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But some of these people don't. That is going to be their downfall. That is going to be the cause more regulation, inhibiting with some level of legality the Second Amendment. Because we suck at policing ourselves. For an entity that wants to be this mass civilian police force, we can't look in a mirror. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Yes. But bad people wrongfully use guns to do it. So while I'm not a huge fan of the quote, as I said previously, I will say, because here it fits for our regime, if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to be afraid of. Isn't that what everybody who lives on the right side of the political spectrum constantly says? Well, now it's time to practice what you preach. For us to practice what we preach. And that is to realize that there are some people carrying guns who shouldn't. Be they mentally ill or just incompetent. Okay, they want to have it in their home, fine. But I have no problem. In fact, that's why I'm not carrying right now. Probably shouldn't have said that over the radio. But it's why I'm not carrying right now, because I have not shot since I left the Secret Service. And for me to carry under LEOSA, that's the law that's federal that allows me to carry, whether the state of Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, or wherever likes it or not, for me to carry legally under that law as a former law enforcement officer of varying degrees, in my case, retired in good standing, I think you can actually leave after 10 years. And not necessarily retire. But as long as you're not fired after 10 years for misconduct of any kind, then you're in good standing and you can carry under LEOSA. LEOSA requires us to qualify, as we should. You don't just hop behind the wheel of a car or a boat without taking some sort of test or getting some sort of instruction. No. You're taught to pilot a boat. You're taught to drive a car, and you're tested on driving a car. You're tested with a written form on piloting a boat. Now, that's Coast Guard regulations. But nothing to carry a gun because it's your right? Just because it's your right doesn't mean you shouldn't have to perform under a certain level. So that's my take on the Second Amendment. I own guns. I have them. So for those who caught strategically as a benefit to yourself that I don't carry, get me out town in the few times that I'm there. Otherwise, don't visit me at home. And I will be carrying soon enough. All right. 3 is really simple. The Third Amendment, no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. During the American Revolution, colonists were forced to house, at their expense, soldiers from the British Army. This was not cool. So there it is. Now into 2 more amendments, at least the first of 2 more amendments that are very relevant to Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and really so many other cases with regards to immigration and deportation. The Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. Standing in the Oval Office and saying he's not legal, that's not supported by oath or affirmation, especially when it's a lie. Supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person's arrest warrant or things, search warrant, to be seized. And it needs to make sense. If I have a search warrant for a house and we're looking for the computer that is to my right, it's in a case, big metal and glass case, lots of wires, it's delicate, you're not just going to stuff it somewhere. The police cannot go through my desk drawers looking for that computer. It's not okay. The only reason they can open the desk drawers is if there's something else listed as an item to be searched for that realistically fits inside the drawer. Earlier, we talked about sometimes an arrest warrant also requires a search warrant. The arrest warrant will say where the person is likely to be found. That works as a search warrant if that location is listed as a place to be searched on the warrant, on the arrest warrant. If you think Joe Schmo, the bad guy, is at Grandma's house, he's inside Grandma's house, I know it, I know he's in there, then you have to tell a court why you know he's in there, and you have to get a search warrant for that house to serve the arrest warrant on Joe Schmo, the bad guy. just going into grandma's house because she's grandma to Joe Schmo, the bad guy, is unreasonable and violates grandma's right to be secure in her persons, on her person, and in her house. Papers and effects against the unreasonable looking for Joe Schmo, the bad guy. If he's there frequently, in the course of your imagination, talking about Pam Bondi, the course of your investigation has shown that he's there frequently. In other words, that's where he lives. Then that is the address that'll be posted on the arrest warrant, or a known address if there are multiple, as bad guys often have. Point of that being, you can't just go into various places and see somebody like this one 19-year-old I read about, and I have to do a little bit better prep for a follow-up. But this one 19-year-old that was deported recently was on his way home, we'll say from hanging with his buddies, and police and ICE agents were looking for one of the buddies. They take him, and in the process of taking him into custody, they realize he's not the guy. And somebody says, take him anyway. Now, to be fair to both sides, we'll just say that's an example. Maybe that didn't really happen, and that's fine. We'll just say that's an example. Taking him anyway because he's a friend? That's not even close to legal. No. Just because he's a known associate, you've got no reason to take him into custody unless he willfully comes with you. Yeah, Joe Schmo, the bad guy, has been causing me problems too. I want to help you guys out. Let's go where we can talk. But that person is now coming with you not because he's been placed under arrest, but because he's giving you consent to further this conversation and the investigation that it supports. So, the Fifth Amendment. This is the one you've heard of because you've probably used it in a conversation with your spouse when he or she has asked you something you wish to not disclose. You will say, I plead the Fifth. That means that no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of grand jury, except in cases arising in the land of naval forces or in militia, when in actual service, in time of war, or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject, for the same offense, to be put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, Pam Bondi, of law. nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Not only is that a criminal element, but that's eminent domain, is what that's referring to. Government can't just take your fields because we're putting a highway through it. They got to pay you for it. But let's break that whole thing down. That first part, I will bet that you thought was the self-incrimination part. It's not. That came later. I also see some in the chat. I think we should get caught up there too. Yet, this is with regards to the Fourth and Fifth Amendment and Garcia. Ken tends to think if they can't bring Garcia back, what happened to him? Is that why they can't bring Garcia back? Because they know he's already dead? That's what I fear. Hegseth and Bondi need to go. Yeah, I want to tell you about Hegseth and Bondi really quick. And I think we're going to save the rest of the Fifth Amendment and the Sixth Amendment and Seventh Amendment for later this week. I sat down and considered Pete Hegseth's military career, and I'm not slighting his career. I'm not devaluing his career. I'm devaluing his appointment to the Secretary of Defense. And then there's Pam Bondi, who until now was a nobody. Period. If you take the amount of time that Hegseth and Bondi have in dealing with classified documents, such as text messages that should not be text messages, and you add both of those numbers together, you can take any one of my 5 assignments within the Secret Service, and I will still have more experience than both of them combined. And I say that because I fancy myself as someone who has served his country, yes. But under no stretch do I think I'm the next coming of James Bond or Rambo. And yet here they are flapping their yap about how DEI is over and we're back to hiring based on merit. And I'll say again, here they are. I mean, do they read these posts before they go live with it? Yeah, I've, what's his name? DeSantos does that too. He wears his high-heeled boots. In fact, when he was here right after Helene with Sheriff Naco, who is actually tall, he was in his boots, and I had to look away and do one of these, oh, my allergies are acting up, and cringe, not laugh too hard, because he was in those boots and still not very tall. I need to send that link to Sportcat, who wants to come on right about now, and we certainly want him to. We'll just shoot the breeze a little bit until he gets in. He wanted me to come on his too, I think. I mean, I can't do that for too long because remember that interview that I told you I had on Monday? Yeah, it's today. I sat there for like 10 minutes on Zoom, and I'm so glad to see Matrix resting. I sat there on Zoom for like 10 minutes on Monday. DNR folks, if you're listening, shout out to everybody listening on dnrstudios.com and the DNR Cast app. Today, I will be recording an interview with Derek and Romaine for broadcast on their show. I don't know if they're going to edit it and share it today or when. I do usually listen there, by the way, 5 p.m. Eastern. Remember to go to worldtimebuddy.com and help figure that out where you're at. But let's welcome back.
Well, hello there.
Hey there. How's everybody?
Oh, well, we're getting by, I guess. How are you?
Good. Busy as well. Slept in today. Had a bit of a rough night last night. Matrix was acting up a little bit, so he's sleeping comfortably on the bed right here. But I was not actually up and moving, so the Mastiff Media Magazine playlists are not exactly up to date the way they normally would be to follow you. And by the way, they don't follow you anymore. At 3 p.m. will be, is it David Beckmeyer? I think Outrage Overload. I got to see playlist schedule. I got to go back to yesterday because I haven't updated it for today yet. Yes. Following you at 3 p.m. will be David Beckmeyer and Outrage Overload. So if you want to make that announcement, and it will still be on Radio X, followed by Mates Helping Mates at 4, and then followed by an updated version of Mastiff Media Magazine at 5 and 6. So It's a godsend that you are back today, because the playlists that would be playing right now are from yesterday, and some of those stories are from yesterday morning. So
very old.
Yeah,
very old. In the media, it's 24-hour news cycle, and it's gone. So yeah,
absolutely. So very old, just like you and me.
Yes.
Or are they just like me?
I'm very old.
You?
No, I'm pretty old. Who else can throw your back out sneezing or something? I don't know. So.
Yeah. How's that doing?
Well, it's better. I can sit up right now. So yeah. But it's better. It's still painful, but it's almost there. I've got to keep taking some NSAIDs and, hydrate and try and stretch. I was doing some Tai Chi that actually worked. So I'm happy with that. Yeah. So I did that, and I've done some stretches, and it's coming along, but there for 2 days, it sucked.
Yeah, it sounded. Your messages were saying, especially that you can even sit up. That sounded severe.
Yeah.
That sounded harsh.
Yeah, it sucked.
What news stories do you got coming up?
Well, we've got so much catching up today. I don't know that we're going to get into a whole lot of news. We'll cover a few of the highlighted things of the day. Of course, the mainstream media is trying to get us all riled up over an MS-13 gang member, and so. I'm going to leave that story.
If you're talking with Garcia,
I guess that's his name. I don't know. So they're trying to get us whipped up over that. So
I just spent the past 45 minutes talking about how Pam Bondi is a lying piece of shit. Is she saying that he's not here legally? He is, or at least he was.
Well, he did have an order to go home from a judge before this, so I don't know if that's true. But
he was still here legally. She says that he was never here legally in the first place. Like, he's one of the people that crossed over the Texas border swimming through the crocodile-infested Rio Grande. No, that's not how it happened.
There's no crocodiles in the Rio Grande. So.
Well, they are down there. In fact, they're here in Florida now too. I don't know if you've heard that, but there's just as many crocs
I knew that. Yeah,
as there are alligators. In fact, even the alligators are scared. But point being, in fact, you just missed it. I just read the 4th and 5th Amendments and about due process.
He's not just eligible for due process. He's not a legal citizen.
It doesn't matter. I don't know where that came, but the Supreme Court already ruled long ago, and this one has upheld it.
Okay. I don't know. I can't argue the point, but I'm just everything I ever learned in school. So I can't argue it because I don't have facts in front of me. But
I don't know why that was even taught in school, because it's not even close to true.
I was taught there's 52 states too, so I don't have a damn clue what the hell my schools were teaching. So
who are the 52?
I don't know. I'm still looking for them. So.
Were you also? I'm from Pennsylvania.
I'm guessing they probably tried to include DC and Puerto Rico, since I grew up outside of DC. That's my guess, but I don't remember. It's so long ago.
But with Puerto Rico, they're not the only Commonwealth that has that same status that is not a state. Correct. There's Samoa. There is there's another one out there.
Virgin Islands, I believe.
Yeah.
I think Guam, maybe. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that one up.
That's the one. Yeah.
So I don't know. But then again, I was never taught anything about the Vietnam War either, or the Korean War.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My thing was, I'm from Pennsylvania, and even we were not taught that there were 57 states, which would be very easily, considering that's the home of Heinz and 57 varieties.
Yeah, that would have been good.
When I was a kid, our one state senator was John Heinz from that family. Mm-hmm. Who died in a tragic helicopter crash back when I think it was in like 3rd grade. But yeah, let's say our Garcia is what I was saying was, I forget the name I was using. Joe Schmo, the bad guy, I think it was. He is still being denied due process. And that is why the Supreme Court unanimously said, you got to bring him back. You got to do this right.
But we can't bring him back. We can request.
Bullshit.
The El Salvador president sat in the Oval Office and said he's serving time in my jail for crimes there. I'm not letting him go.
The El Salvadorian president sat in the Oval Office because Donald Trump said to. That is why the El Salvadorian president.
Oh, come on. Now you're a conspiracy theorist. So
no, that's why else would the El Salvador? I'm pulling up a, and then I got to go because I got to.
Yeah, we're over time, but yeah, no, a foreign leader doesn't come in because somebody tells them to. They come in because they want to come in and get stuff for their country.
Yeah, but you don't come into the Oval Office without permission of the guy that does work in the Oval Office.
I agree there because Zelensky got tossed. I agree. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. But I mean, you're making it sound as though Trump called and said, "Hey, I need you to PR moment here."
Here's what I don't understand. As NPR's Steve Inskeep put it, if I understand this correctly, U.S. president has launched a trade war against the world, believes he can force the European Union and China to meet his terms, is determined to annex Canada and Greenland, but is powerless against El Salvador.
So, I mean, what are we going to do? Cut off all the money and everything over one criminal dude? Come on, man. I don't know. I agree with that.
Say, hey, I want the guy back. We made a mistake. We already admitted that.
But if he's a criminal there and he's went through their criminal system, we could get him back after he's done time for their crime, right?
He would know because he was granted asylum from El Salvador.
Okay. I can't argue because I don't know. So I won't argue. I know the mainstream media is trying to get us all whirled up over this. I think it's a bunch of horse hockey, but that's just me. So at any rate,
and
I don't
provide those citations.
Well, that's what I said. I'm not going to go over them because I haven't had time to research it. But I said the mainstream media.
Okay, that makes
no. The mainstream media is trying to whip us up in a fury over it, and I think it's horse hockey. There's better stories out there. So, yes, yes, you're absolutely correct. I have a long story about sneezing injuries. So,
fair question.
What's that?
Ken wants to know if he calls you a criminal, does that make it true?
Well, no. Anybody could go. Okay, but let's be honest here. No. I'm saying that's what the mainstream media is saying. I haven't researched it. I'm saying they're whipping us up over it.
Actually, Pam Bondi said it too. And again, that may have been part of prior due process, but that doesn't mean he's denied the due process still owed him.
No.
I
don't know. I can't argue that because I don't know. But at any rate, like I said, they're just trying to get us whipped up over this, and as you can tell, they're successful, and that's what they do. The mainstream media picks this topic of the day out of their crack of their ass, and they stir us up over it. That's all, and that's what pisses me off about media.
To provide some sanity and actual journalism.
Yeah, if I was going to report on that, I would actually go back and do a deep dive and stuff. But I'm more concerned with why we didn't die yesterday. That's the basic theory because if you go, just to highlight, if you go on YouTube and you search out any of the mainstream, well, I'll call them mainstream because they're YouTubers, but any of the popular YouTubers that they come up with, last night I saw breaking news, nuclear codes given over the radio, bays being, I'm like, open, bay doors being open. Like, come on, that's a bunch of bullshit. If it was, first off, you wouldn't know it. Second off, clickbait. And I hate that Canadian Prepper. I hate him. He is the word every day. I hate to be the reason to tell you we're all going to die today, but if you spin me like a fucking preacher, Jesus Christ. So, excuse my language. It just pisses me off so bad. That's why I have my show, to prove why we didn't die today, because there's adults in charge. Whether you like them or not, there's adults in charge.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the same adults that we had during Trump 1.0. But I guess we got somebody.
I still think that if somebody was to make a stupid decision, there'd be somebody that would say, yeah, no. So
you mean like kidnapping someone and sending them to another country?
Well, I don't see. Here's the thing. Did he do that directly? I don't think he did that directly. I agree. He's the whipping boy for it. Yes. But did he?
Trump? Yes, he did that directly. Everybody is saying that he was the mandate. He was the one mandated to do this,
not for one guy. I'm putting it on one guy. He didn't go say pick up John Doe.
Experience. I was investigated 3 times during my career in the Secret Service.
But you were in his vision.
And 2 of those 3 times came during the Trump administration. If he is not the one saying directly to investigate Glenn Sportcat Jackson, he is the one creating the atmosphere for the enemies of Glenn Sportcat Jackson to conduct that investigation.
I can't deny with that.
And if you don't believe me, look up. We actually had this as a commercial for 3 minutes before the election. Look up The Whistleblowers. It's a podcast by Miles Taylor.
Yes, I've heard. Yeah.
At least 8 different episodes of people just like me and just like Abrego Garcia.
So did Biden go tell the New York City animal control, whoever it was, to go kill the squirrel? No, he didn't. But did he get whipped for it? Yes.
I don't know that story. What's that?
It was during the election, and supposedly they were ahead in the polls. And then the animal control went and killed the pet squirrel that was a YouTube and TikTok famous. Yeah. And everybody went back, it's all Biden's fault. Biden didn't go say, as much as I dislike Biden, he didn't go say, go get that squirrel and thump him in the head. So,
no.
So, was it Petey the squirrel or what? I don't
know. Yeah.
There's conspiracy theories on all sides of the aisle. Some are crazier than others, but I mean, we're going to knock off a squirrel today, boys.
All right, so I'm going to kill the radio feed so you can pick it up.
Okay, let me find that button here. Yeah, we need to do that because my 2 audience members are probably getting impatient. So,
Up next, Sport Cats Daily Gazette. I will see you again tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Up the Middle.
Yes,
in a little less than 2 hours from now, you'll be hearing on both Radio X, Rainbow Radio, and Yerg's Radio from David Beckmeyer and Outrage Overload, followed by 3 hours from now, Mates Helping Mates, Scott and Jay, on, again, Radio X and Yerg's Radio. Till then, I'll see you tomorrow.
And don't forget, they need to all come over to get in my chat on the Para R Normal GUYZ. It's Para R Normal Guys. Yeah. So that all these fine people over here on the right can heckle me if I do something wrong, which I do wrong things every day. So please do bring it on. So yes, come over. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button, the notification, and thumbs up. So.
We made that announcement today. I am going to systematically be leaving YouTube for live broadcasts, just because I don't think 2-hour long videos do well there.
I'm discovering that.
And additionally, I'm not looking to be censored by them again. So I'm going to take today's episode, chop it up into segments, and get that many videos to put up independently and better maintain the attention.
Shorts do much better, yes.
And remember to join us live, because that's where you get to interact with me, and Sport Cat, and everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for getting off the porch and running with the big dogs, going up the middle.
And cats, and running with the big cats.
Yep. So, well, that's next. That's what they continue with. I will see you all again tomorrow. I got to get ready for an interview that's in 20 minutes. And that's it. Yeah. I'll see you again.
All right. Have fun. I will see everybody over on my channel here in just a few minutes. You be safe, Ross. I'll talk to you tomorrow.